But I think the fact, actually, going back to what we were
Good.
saying, I think the fact that we have even put this on at such short notice, this film festival, shows the resourcefulness of Freewheelers. I think it's absolutely astonishing, and it's so professional. I think we should be all incredibly proud of what you've achieved. I mean, I
What's
think
happened, yeah.
it's magic, really is.
So much content there is from Freewheelers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was all there. I mean,
Yeah,
that you've made such a lot of films in the years.
And it's not even all of it.
No, not at all.
And it's wonderful to be able to revisit them. I
Right,
think it
we are
really is
going
wonderful.
live, ladies and gentlemen. We are.
We
It
are.
must bring lots of memories.
There we are. Now we are.
We are live on Facebook.
Thank you. Good evening, Facebook viewers. You're very welcome to our panel discussion about the films tonight and all things Freewheelers.
Welcome.
Right, now we have everyone and our evening can start in earnest. Welcome to the third night of the Freedom Film Festival by Freewheelers Theatre and Media. This evening is about film drama. The panel is happy to answer any questions you have. You can ask questions or just say hi using the comments box on Facebook. I'd like to introduce you to the panel tonight, starting with our Freewheelers members. Ems Dooley, can you give us a wave, Ems?
Hello.
Hi, Ems.
Hello.
And Jamie.
Hello.
And also from Freewheelers, we have Pip Steers, our Chair of Trustees.
Hi.
And Andrea Atkinson, our co-founder and dance director. And Gary Thomas, who's assistant to the media director, and Matt CB on technicals tonight, or maybe I've got that wrong, and Pete Hickson also on technicals tonight. Yvonne is also Freewheelers. She's a volunteer and volunteers from Switzerland now.
Yes.
Having had to run away after making...
Yes, I made my escape 6 years ago.
And then we have two lovely guests. We have Emily Gray, who's Executive Director of Mercury Musical Developments. I'm sure she'll tell you more about that in a minute. And she was also formerly with the Trestle Theatre Company, which is how we worked with her, with Trestle. And last but very much not least, Sir Richard Stilgoe, songwriter, musician and broadcaster and founder of the Orpheus Centre. And Richard helped us to get started, didn't he, Andrea? Yes. Right, now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the films in their running order. And meanwhile, we'll listen out for questions from anyone.
We've actually already had one in, because Ashley's already asked Ems and the team in Bonnie how long it took to make the film.
I know. Do they know?
Yeah.
Ems, how do you know?
Ems,
Right,
what do you think?
Yes.
It's quicker than that. It was. We talked about it for a year or so, and then we started filming.
Yes.
But when we started filming, it was actually pretty quick, wasn't it? I recall Gary and Ems and Jamie.
Yeah, we
pretty-
experimented.
We had a bit of a, we had probably 3 months filming, I reckon.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Chris said a little longer than that. He said it was about a year of making the script, which mostly came from films.
Yeah.
And then the actual filming took 6 months. He said.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different locations and interesting characters.
Yeah. Although when you say that, 90% of the locations indoors are from the youth centre. So there's a lot. There's actually, like the boys' bedroom that you see at the beginning was actually the same room as the police station. So just turn the camera the other way and
It's a quite shocking story, but it's very much like a spoof on much that we do watch on television. Ems, was that your thought when you wrote it?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
And the characters are lovely.
because I've done a couple of films here, and it took a long time, so I've got a bit mixed up. Yeah, and they took a long, so maybe I got mixed up with Breaking Bonnie and maybe some of the others.
Yeah.
Shady Oaks.
Shady Oaks.
Shady Oaks
Yes.
took quite a while to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Shady Oaks took a while, that
twice
was
as long. I think Shady Oaks took to make.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, so this was a quick production.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it, Ems? Did you enjoy acting in that Breaking Bonnie?
Did I?
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Some of it I did, and some of it I wanted it over and done with.
Yeah.
Yes, but most of it I liked. Yes.
It's hard work. Emily.
I just wanted to ask Ems a question as well about, and I guess Jamie as well, how much you'd written the characters already, or whether you were improvising and whether the other Freewheelers were bringing their own ideas about the characters to the story.
I've done most of the characters. Yes.
Sorry, interrupting there. But
I've
some
done most of them.
Most of them, right.
Some characters were designed by Ems, but some weren't.
Yes.
Like the McClure character. Well, McClure was a character that I thought of talking over with Ems and the rest of the group. And we thought that he needed to be added in for a reason. And so we thought it was a very decent character to add in. And it was adding a dynamic that possibly could be in the other films. So isn't that right, Gary?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we talked about it for a while, and we had a document with what was happening in every scene. And the only thing we didn't have by that point was the actual dialogue. So we knew what was going to happen in the scene, and that was kind of a fun way of doing it as well, because sometimes we got takes where we didn't know who was going to say what and what was going to happen, and it kind of
was completely unscripted, completely unscripted.
Like no lines, no lines in it.
Yeah,
because I never wanted any.
No.
Yeah.
It's why it sounds so fresh when it looks so fresh and sounds so fresh when you see it. Fantastic.
And it was like the same. It was the same thing with the other project that me and Ems did.
Jingles.
Well, where it was all around. Ems came up with an idea of an actor that went through hard times and lost a loved one, but had someone to mentor him back to his normal life and give him his confidence.
Yeah, and that came from Ems and Jamie talking about different characters and different storylines and ideas.
It was quite unique because it showed that a disabled person can. It's like someone said that you look like a disabled person needs to be rescued, and it's the opposite way around. A disabled person can save anybody else. It works both ways. So it was an interesting story take to see. Just an interesting thing, but that's a project that we're going to be probably showing next.
Excellent. It's a hotbed of ideas, the media room.
Yeah.
Now I got this wrong, and Breaking Bonnie wasn't the first film. Let's just go back to Running for Glory, and let me show you a picture. Tell me if I've got it in the right place. This is.
Yeah, you have.
You know who this is? Yes. That's Anthony O'Sullivan, who is the rider. Really the rider, I think.
Yeah.
In Running for Glory. And Gary was just going to tell us a bit about Anthony's appearing tomorrow night in the Q&A. So Gary, were you going to tell us a bit more about Anthony and the many things he does? Or?
Yeah, he does loads. Yeah, Running for Glory is one of 3 films that we made to celebrate the centenary of the First World War. And we had, there was a couple of inspirations. There was Anthony's horse riding, which we always thought we'd have to get on film one day. And so we did, using this film. But also Bill Pearson, who came in and told us a story about his father. And he brought all his medals in and his sword, and it just inspired a lot of stories in that. So that was really interesting. And Anthony, not only does he ride, he also helps out the Freewheelers with all the technical stuff. And if you want a cable, he's probably got it in his suitcase. So yeah, so he's great like that. And I think I was watching it earlier actually. I think the picnic scene in Running for Glory, that was all done indoors, and I think that was the first thing we shot on the new green screen when we had it. So yeah, so there was a mixture of different filmmaking styles in that film.
Plus, Anthony is a crossage champion.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Dressage
national champion 3 times. So
yeah.
And he can mend anything.
Yeah.
In despair, we send for Anthony.
Yeah.
Lovely. So
actually, Gary, you sort of answered a question for Alex, but I wonder if Richard could also answer something, because Alex would also like to know why all 3 films have the music they have and the story behind the music in all 3 films.
The music in Running for Glory is nothing to do with me, which is a source of great pleasure. Previously, Luke Tye, who wrote the song and was singing the song, he and I have written quite a lot of songs together, to begin with, inspired by the film Warhorse. That, I think Luke had it in his mind that what would happen if Warhorse were a musical? And the first song we wrote together about that was called, I forget what it's called now, but it was a song for the horse Joey to sing. It was called Just for the Ride.
That's right. That's right.
And it was it vaguely comes back. And Luke sang that, and it was a beautiful song. And again, one of the things you can do in the theatre is have a horse that sings. In real life, but an audience will quite happily sit there and listen to a horse singing, because there's this thing we call the suspension of disbelief, which I don't believe in, but audiences will sit in a theatre and believe stuff. They won't if they're watching a film. They won't if they're watching television. They have to be breathing the same air, which is why we must get the theatres open again and get, so that people can share that experience. The beautiful thing about Running for Glory is the riding in it is absolutely stunning, because it is really convincing, and it's also a great, big, strong horse of the type that they used in the First World War. It would be a pity if 1918 was kind of marked by 2018 and we then forgot all about it. It was the most terrible thing, not just because in 1918 as well, there was Spanish flu, which we're all being reminded of now, but because, just the Battle of the Somme, which I think this is set in, isn't it?
That's right, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Where my granddad was fighting on the Battle of the Somme and couldn't take it, and went to the doctors and said, I can't take this, and they sent him home. My wife's granddad was a doctor on the Battle of the Somme, and we did some research, and alas, we found out that he wasn't the doctor who sent my granddad home. But if you can, has anybody seen 1917?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that is the most astonishing and horrendous, and one suspects truthful film about what it was really like being in that war.
Yeah.
I think, people, that if such a thing happened again now, whether people would agree to go and fight in that way. That was a very obedient time when there was a big social hierarchy, and there were the bosses and the workers, and when people said go and die, people went.
Yeah.
I'm not sure now that millions of people would agree to join up and go and fight for a war that was caused for no particularly good reason. The Second World War had a terrifically good reason, but the First World War was a series of petulant behaviors by royal people. Would we go to war over it?
Yeah.
Big silence.
No. We're thinking that we wouldn't. Well, I'm thinking
Yeah.
people wouldn't.
Yeah.
They would have to feel convinced that there was a just cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not an obedient society anymore. Well, some are and some aren't. There are elements that aren't.
Yeah, but if we were going to war, people would tweet, people would go on Facebook, people would go on Instagram,
Yes.
and people would know so much more about what was going on than they did then. I mean, one of the things was that when Kaiser Bill was a boy, he had a withered arm. He had a slight disability. And his cousins at Osborne House on the Isle of Wight, Queen Victoria, Prince Albert, all of those, used to bully him mercilessly. One of the main reasons for the First World War is Kaiser Bill taking his revenge on Britain for being bullied for being disabled when he was a teenager.
Gosh.
Wow. Didn't know that.
I didn't.
Family, falling out.
Yeah. Goodness. And a boyfriend, and not a boyfriend, Gavrilo Princip, a young man in Sarajevo, wanted to show off to his girlfriend who had just left him for another man, so he killed the Archduke. And that was the thing that triggered it off. If the girl hadn't left him, he wouldn't have needed to show off and kill the Archduke. History is so full of these sort of silly little accidents that cause enormous disasters.
Yes. Gosh. Right. We're going to move on through the programme. That's fascinating. And of course, there's one more cavalry song tomorrow, which is Back Where We Belong, which you were also involved with, Richard.
Yes, I was. Well, again, mostly Luke. All I do when writing songs with people is say, yeah, good idea, go on. No, terrible idea, don't go on. I don't say, do this, do that. All one does is, one hopes, encourage. A lot of freewheelers, you spend all your time, don't you, Viv, saying, yes, you can, of course you can, when people say, we can't.
We discussed this yesterday, didn't we? Very much so. Right, now, thank you, that's lovely. Now, the trailer for Degas, Andrea, you want to tell us a bit more about your wonderful project?
Yeah, sure. So we were just discussing before this went live that Degas, the performance was supposed to have happened 2 weeks ago and again next week. So fingers crossed this Degas will happen next year, and along with Do Not Disturb will hopefully continue its tour next year. But Degas, as it said in the trailer, is basically, it's a dance piece. I'm calling it a dance drama because there was a little bit of recorded vocals over the top just occasionally. But it's 25 dancers, and it's based on the life of Edgar Degas once he's finished his professional development, when he sets up studio in Paris. And it's sort of focusing on different parts of his life. So the formation of the Impressionist movement, and the dancers actually all have a character in it who were actually around at the time. So we're introduced to Renoir and Monet and some of the other painters, and also some of the models that models for him, and some of his friends. And the music is all contemporary of the time. So we've got lots of Debussy and Fauré and Ravel. So it's a beautiful music. And as a backdrop of actually some of the paintings, and at various different points in the dance, the dancers recreate the paintings and move the paintings on. It's I think one case where they dance and finishes the painting, but most of it is the painting, and then the painting is moved on. So yeah, so that's Degas.
And it can't be rehearsed at the moment.
And it can't be rehearsed. It's the thing with dancing, obviously, is that everyone is they're not 2 meters apart or even 1 meter apart. They're touching and holding hands and moving, and so yeah, so I know the dancers have remembered it all, because we're online, and I run a dance class on a Tuesday morning, and the dancers keep doing bits from it. So I know it's all there, and I know we'll be able to go back, and I don't think people have forgotten it. So fingers crossed, this time next year, all being well, we can actually put it on stage.
Oh. And the other trailer was for Do Not Disturb. So you start with that one, Andrea, as you've been so involved in the making of the performance.
Okay, so Do Not Disturb, basically we'd finished one tour in production, and we all sat down as a group with a blank sheet of paper, to discussing what we were going to do next. And we all started talking, and throwing ideas into the pot, which is what we do. And one of the members told us about how she, at one point in her life, was in a coma. And she started talking about some of the memories behind that, and how it affected her family, and stories that they had told her about how she was in hospital. And then along the way, 2 other members also told us that they'd had experience of being in a coma as well. So we realised that this was a story that needed to somehow be told. So we got on board our lovely scriptwriter, Anita, and she came in and ran various sessions and chatted to everyone and took loads of information in and produced a wonderful script. And then we decided that it was quite a serious subject, and the members wanted to put a bit of song and dance, maybe a bit of comedy into it, and it was a coma. So we had to really think about how we were going to do that. And Terry actually told us that when she was in a coma, her parents put headphones on her and played one of her favourite comedy series to her. So we thought, well, maybe that's where we can get the comedy by involving that comedy series. And then we brought lovely Tom, our musician, our composer, on board, and he worked with us, and we discussed where the dances and where the songs might be. And the guys all gave lyrics and helped towards the writing of the songs. And then the final sort of cherry on the cake, I think, was we were trying to work out, there were lots of stories that Terry was telling about how confused things were. So things that she felt when she was, well, she doesn't even know if it was a memory or not, but she was confused about textures of things and sounds around her bed. There was lots going on with the head. And one of the other members talked about out-of-body experiences and things like that. So we decided we had to somehow capture the idea of something going on in the head. So we decided maybe the route to go was a puppet. So we've got a lovely puppet maker, Nick Barnes, who came on board, amazing puppet maker, and he worked with us and worked with the puppeteers and came up with our lovely Robbie puppet. And that developed throughout the development process to the puppet we have now, and working with the puppets to get the emotion out of our Robbie puppet. So yeah, so that's Do Not Disturb. And Richard, I know you came to see, we did actually get one performance in before the lockdown, and I know, sorry to throw that at you, Richard, but I know you came to see it, didn't you? So I don't know what your thoughts on it was.
The first thing that impressed me, I mean, A, the sheer quality of the writing, the sheer quality of the whole performance, but also it wasn't preachy. It was a really serious subject, and it could have been very worthy. And because it had the puppet, because it had songs, because it had humour in it, it connected with its audience in a way that if it had just been a sermon about being in a coma, which it could have been, and if it was bad theatre, that's what it would have been. It was a wonderful evening of kind of joy and redemption. I thought it was a fantastically good piece of work. I really was terribly impressed.
Thank you. That's lovely. Right, Emily, you haven't
We do have some more quick questions if you don't mind, panel.
Yeah.
Annie's saying she's very much looking forward to Degas. There's many people welcoming Yvonne back to Freewheelers. Lovely to see you on the panel tonight. And a couple of questions about Bonnie. Firstly, from Liz Ems, she would like to know what was your favourite thing about making the film and your favourite line. Also about Bonnie, but for Yvonne, from Luke Ty, actually. What was it like to play a villain?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Ems, you want to go first?
Me. What did I like about Bonnie?
What did you like most about making the film, and what was your favourite line from your character?
I liked it because it got I like to do things. I like to make things up. Like I watch a lot of police programs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. And I like to do things myself. my own things. I like to do my own, and I thought my own, like Breaking Bunny, was a good story.
It was
A
very
good story. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a good idea.
It was a good idea.
Yes, that was it. Yes, and I talked to my family a lot about it. Yes.
Were you happy with how it turned out? Were you happy with how it turned out in the end, Ems? The whole thing?
Most of it, yes. I did. I was. I'm happy that. Is it Peter? Is it Peter who done a Breaking Biggie?
Yeah.
Yes.
What done? Yeah.
That's a follow-up that's about to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'm happy that he's doing a second one. Yeah, because I don't want to organise to do one.
One was enough.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I don't want to
effective.
do a. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're going to be in Breaking Biggie.
I
Right?
want to be in it, but I don't
Yeah.
want to be
In
top
charge.
dog.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in charge of it
Yeah.
all.
Wise.
That's it. I want to help, but I don't want to be in charge.
Yeah.
And
That's
Yvonne,
it.
you ran away to Switzerland after that.
Yeah.
Well, I did. And I mean, I think, thank you, Luke, for your question. I think, do you know what? I don't think playing a villain was really on my mind. I think it was just having to act at all and have this camera in front of me. It was completely alien to me. I'd never done anything like that in my life.
You're natural. You're natural.
Well, you're very good.
Well, thank you very much, but frankly terrifying. Yeah, but so I don't think I necessarily realised I was a villain. I was just sort of, it just was how it was, and so I didn't feel like a villain.
Yeah. Well, that's why we spent a long time talking about it, and we were all saying, you know, what would this character do? Because she knows something's up, and so what would this character do? So we would, as a whole group of all of us, about 14 or 15, we would be sitting in the room having these story conversations and deciding amongst ourselves. And Ems would sometimes have the final say, and then someone would get another idea, and then that would be the idea that sticks. So
excellent.
Yeah,
I'm going to move to that's splendid. Emily, I'm going to come to you. I don't quite know what to ask you. The future of theatre. We've touched on it a little bit in our informal conversations. Tell us a bit about what you do and
Okay, well, firstly, it's very lovely to be here. I've encountered freewheelers over the years, whether that's delivering workshops or coming to see your wonderful work or talking to people, or the group coming to visit me at Trestle Art Space, which was a really lovely time. And every time I come back and encounter freewheelers, I'm just astounded at the sort of extraordinary variety that you create. So even just tonight, from the poetry of the horse riding and that beautiful, beautiful singing by Luke, to the pretty much naturalistic acting and the wonderful improvising. And Yvonne, you were so brilliant as a baddie because you weren't playing a baddie. You were playing a woman who believed she was doing the right thing. That's brilliant. That was great performance. But yes, everyone in that film really finding that naturalistic truth. And then you look at the Degas and this beautiful movement work and storytelling through dance, and then the musical theatre of Do Not Disturb. I mean, what a glorious mix. And I just love that as a company you work to the strengths and the desires and the wishes of the members. So what comes out of this beautiful smorgasbord of work. Yes, all praise to you all. And also just thinking about just that sort of segueing into thinking about where we're at now. So I run a company called Mercury Musical Developments, which develops new work, new musical theatre, and that's in the broadest sense. So Do Not Disturb absolutely is a piece of musical theatre in that the songs are leading the action, are telling the story, are giving the emotional kind of heart of the piece, and telling that fabulous story. And we've been able to do a lot of work during the pandemic. We've done a lot of work online because a lot of the artists are writers. So they are, I mean, people have really struggled to create, but we're finding ways to do that. And I think the very positive things that are coming out are things that actually I think Freewheelers are already very good at, that sort of sense of mixed media, of kind of going, well, actually, if we can't do the live stuff and we all miss it so much, can we put on a fabulous film festival? Well, you have, you know, you found that digital work. I think we've all improved our skills digitally and in the online world. I mean, who'd have thought a few months ago we'd all be sitting in these little boxes, feeling so connected. And it's wonderful to see you all. And then the international element. We've been working with composers across the world and having access to people we've never ordinarily talked to. And here we are with Yvonne, and, you know, we're all over the country, and yet we're all in this wonderful shared connected space. So, so I think I'm hoping that we can take positives out of this time in terms of different ways of watching and connecting. I'm quite interested in this hybrid that's going to, I'm sure, emerge of live performance that is also live streamed. So in that sense of access and more people being able to see work, even if they can't be there in person, can they enjoy and appreciate it online? And yes, I mean, again, I think Freewheelers, you're a brilliant example. You've had to invent new ways of doing things because you are utterly unique, and you burst your way through barriers and go, yes, we can do a show about Degas, and yes, we can do a show about a coma. I mean, it's, you know, it's extraordinary stuff. We can make a film that's a detective drama, police drama. But I'm hoping other people will be catching up with you in a way and going, you know, we have to approach things in different ways. We have to find new ways of doing things. We have to find new partnerships. And yeah, so I'm sort of quietly optimistic. I think there are very difficult things about people leaving the arts and the profession becoming, you know, a more sparse place, because a lot of young artists in particular are finding this time very difficult. But I hope there might be something to do with audiences and how we've proved how important the arts are in this time. You know, we've had people watching and engaging with art so much more. Can we keep them into the future? Can we persuade them to come into the live spaces where we all make work? Let's hope we can.
Oh, thank you, Emily. Lovely. Are you all right, Ems? You okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Pip.
Hi.
Will you
Yes.
talk about the changes? Would you like to talk about the changes at Freewheelers in your long involvement with us?
I've been thinking about this actually today, and it's so difficult because so much has happened in the 12 odd years since I started volunteering with you. I had seen a performance, a dance piece, choreographed by Andrea, that was put on at a round table dinner at the grandstand, and that must have been about 16 years ago. And
yes,
we'd been there with friends, we'd had a table, and we'd seen this amazing performance, and I promised myself then that when I had the time I would come as a volunteer to Freewheelers. And about 4 years later I did that, and I arrived not knowing what to expect, not having had any experience of being with people with disability before, and I was very, very nervous. And I walked into the bridge, and I now realise I should never have been nervous, because the warmth and the friendship that I was given straight off is a testament to the company. And it just went from one thing to another. And I started as a volunteer making cups of tea and having chats with people, to helping or organising a couple of fundraising events, making costumes, baking when we had events that needed catering for. And anyway, I've ended up as chair of the trustees, because basically if you dip your toe in the Freewheelers, it will get bitten off, and in the nicest possible way. And it's just an absolute joy to see the work that is being produced, because every year it seems to grow. And I think that's from the sheer enthusiasm of all the tutors, the members who want to be part of these wonderful productions that are put on. And it comes from the members. The stories come from them, the wish to put on, you know, they design what they want to be able to perform in, and all the tutors help them to create these things. Excuse me. And it's magical to see. So I'm just delighted. The one thing that's always, from the very beginning, I wanted to get the name of Freewheelers out there to a greater public. And now we're sitting here performing to the world. And so it couldn't be better.
Thank you, Pip. That's lovely. Pete, can I just say something to you? Will you speak to me? I know that you've missed the real work, because you got us out into theatres. You organised everything when we were touring, and I think you miss it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing that all the staff are missing is the buzz around the bridge when all the workshop sessions finish and we all cross over for lunch and chatting and catching up. But also, I think all the members and all the staff are desperate to get back into a theatre and put on the 2 fantastic productions that we've been working on recently.
I don't know whether we've got much more we'd like to say. Can I?
We've got a couple other comments coming. For one for Emily from Angus. He hopes theatre gets more support and the arts keep going, but do you see a bright future?
Oh gosh, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I think, you know, there was such a relief that there was some government money, but I think there's also huge issues with that, and sort of, we don't know the details yet, but the general sense is that that money will go to the big institutions that will keep our theatres going, which of course is important, but actually it's the artists, it's those individual makers, it's the freelancers who completely are the lifeblood of our industry. And I'm concerned, I'm really concerned about the people who, I mean, I know a lot of people who are leaving London, people who are retraining as teachers, and you know, that they will, I think the profession will take a knock. But then the other side of that is that, well, companies like Freewheelers, I hope, you know, you will all keep going and keep creating and keep visiting these theatres. Now, one thing that I'm quite optimistic about is that all of the talk around, that obviously was led by the Black Lives Matter movement, but that whole talk around diversity, about getting some really strong representation across all of the arts industry, I think has to make a difference. And I think when theatres do start programming again, and when things do come back, I think Freewheelers has to be out there and shouting and going, yes, we're here and we make this wonderful work and we're going to give this work to the world, and, you know, please listen, please see us, because yeah, that kind of the diverse voices and the need for a whole range of stories to be told, I think will be greater than ever. So I'm hopeful that the sort of flattening of the hierarchy that's been happening will carry on, and that we will see a more inclusive sector. I'm very hopeful of that.
And there's a lot of people thanking Richard for saying what he said earlier about the First World War and Just for the Ride, and fully agreeing with what you said. Finally, the major comments are to Ems, Jamie and Yvonne, the people in Bonnie, just saying what an amazing piece of work it is and what a great film it was, and well done.
Oh, well,
Can I just add one last thing?
Of course.
One of the things that Freewheelers and the Orpheus Centre share, and many students from the Orpheus Centre come on to Freewheelers afterwards, is high ambition. There is one of the few good things that George Bush ever said was the soft bigotry of low expectations. Yes. The soft bigotry of low expectations. The great patronising business of everybody expecting inclusive theatre or disabled theatre not to be very good and not aiming high enough. One of the great things about Do Not Disturb is it absolutely aims for the moon. It's got difficult music, it's got difficult stuff in it, and it works. And we have this unfair advantage, actually, in the area that we work in, because audiences come with their school concert face on, thinking, oh, I hope this is not too embarrassing. Blow them away. And it is just such a treat to be able to do that when the audience had a low expectation of what they were going to see, particularly an audience that's seeing one of our productions for the first time and is absolutely amazed by the quality that can be achieved. Partly because, of course, disabled people very often have far more life experience than non-disabled people.
Yes.
And have been to places emotionally that the rest of us haven't been to, and draw on that when they're making theatre. And it's a thrilling thing to be able to do.
Thank you.
As panel chair, Viv, can I just let you know we've been running 40 minutes.
Yes, I think we're about to wind up.
Well, if you want to support us and donate us and allow us to do our great work, there is a fundraising section on the top of it, on our Facebook page, just above where you're watching, or you can visit our website and our local giving page.
Yes,
you can
our website.
To YouTube, and you can like us on Facebook, so never miss any Freewheelers action and stuff.
Our website is www.freewheelerstheatre.co.uk, and on that website you can donate, and you can also subscribe to our mailing list, which we'd really love to have more people involved with us. It's a real support to know people care.
And the Facebook page is facebook.com/Freewheelers Theatre.
Thank you.
The YouTube page is YouTube.com/Freewheelers Theatre.
You see, we have a great technical team. Does anyone else want to say anything?
Can I just say, I'll go, can I say something quickly? Just echoing what Pip said, it was Pip who brought me along to Freewheelers, and I've written down here, warmth, friendly, kindness, just the words that Pip said, and I would say Freewheelers captured my heart, and I wasn't even there 2 years. So here I am, I'm very happy to still hear what's happening from Pip and from my sister, and it's absolutely fantastic. So that's what I wanted to say.
And you've been running a chat line for people during
yes,
lockdown.
That's been fantastic to hook up with them again. It's been so cool. Yeah, really great. Anyway, sorry, Ems, I jumped in, please.
I only wanted to say I've seen Starlight Express 6 times. Yes, I love it. I love it.
Ems, I'm delighted you've seen it. It will be one of the first shows to come back. It'll come back in Germany, where it has been running for 30 years, and it's coming back, I think, in November, with masks for all the audience. Odd thing is, Phantom of the Opera is still running in South Korea, with the whole of the audience wearing masks. So in other words, the Phantom of the Opera's mask becomes almost sort of irrelevant because all the audience.
That's a lovely note to end on. Thank you all so much. You've been a fantastic panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Everyone.